conspiracy?
No. That's scripture. This is, first of all, this is apocalyptic. Another apocalyptic.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
I believe. A vision of Ezekiel's temple restored. The restoration of the New Jerusalem. Or the New Jerusalem, the city of peace. The temple of Ezekiel's vision was perfectly, should I say, equally, like with the measurements and everything was equal, everything symmetrical.
Right.
And it was designed to exalt the holiness of God. This vision is a prophetic blueprint of what Ezekiel intended to build when the exiles returned to Jerusalem. This temple will be built in the last days when God's people will be brought back to reign with Jesus, the coming Messiah.
Okay.
Let us go in his class.
No, she good. She good, mother.
Oh, okay.
She good. I want to hear what she got, because she's bringing out some conspiracies already. Not from you, but we'll talk about it. You bringing out some stuff that I've been. Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Kind of, it's okay. You know how we went to that tour.
A lot of that stuff started coming back and bringing back to remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're gonna find out is that if you read different writers, you're gonna get different answers for these chapters.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get different answers for these chapters. So what was one of the, you said it's gonna restore the temple. What was one of the nuggets that jumped out to you?
Well, I think of the Great Tribulation coming.
Okay.
This is gonna be the temple where Jesus is gonna reign, but before that, the abomination of desolation.
So okay.
So yeah, that's why I said it was like on 40, but then it took me to the different scriptures that were like connected to it. How in Daniel, he prophesied about this coming. And then in Revelation, it talks about it too.
Which we just got finished out of with the Gog and Magog.
Right.
Okay. Now you should hit me.
So
she's trying to get questions out of me yesterday.
So the temple, that part is what I got to about how because I watched the tour when you guys was there. But it does remind me of that, how everything is to be labeled like the holies of holies, the sacrifices for the sin, where the animals that was sacrificed, where they're supposed to be thrown away at, like it's the entrance and the exit for everything. For the people, and then also too, it's the second temple that had to be rebuilt from the first one being torn down when they was doing all the idol worshiping and all those things in God's temple. So because that one was torn down, the second one is to be built when the children was coming out of, like she said, out of exile, and then before they can even enter the second temple, God had to clean them up and make them whole before they can go into his temple. So I think that temple represents the second temple that was built because the first one had to be torn down.
Okay, all right. We're gonna dive in there. We're gonna dive in there. All right. So, little bit of intro. One of the writers, I just chose one because it was good. Because it goes in what we were talking about, and I'm not gonna read all the paragraphs because I know we're gonna get stuck on some parts. But the main theme is hope in these last few chapters. Hope in spite of the depressing realities of the captivity in Ezekiel's day. Hope based upon the revealed plan of the Lord or God to move his people into a new age of blessing and a close relationship to himself. So we're talking about hope. And remember that when we started chapter 33, I believe, I said that the section changed into now hope, because you had I think it was 25 to 32 when they talked about the king of Tyre. Remember all of that stuff? But this is more of actually chapter 25 actually really initiated the whole, right? Because now Ezekiel has the church has something they can look forward to. They have something to look forward to a reign that is getting ready to happen, a temple that is getting ready to be built. And we're going to find out in these last few chapters that, God is going to manifest himself. His glory is going to be manifested in this temple. And so there's much of these that can be tedious. When you read the chapter, right, a lot of stuff was tedious, right? Do this, one stick here, a stick here, a leapfrog, because how they would measure, they would do they would measure from their hand to their elbow, and that would be a certain measurement. And then, or they'll take like a breath or something. There's different ways how they measure. They had a rod and would measure with a rod. Because remember we talked about take the rod, it's going to be this, and measure, and everything will be so symmetric and all flush. And so that's what we have to understand. So this is hope, and you guys have hit it. So I hear that the theme is really the temple. That's the main event. That's what everybody's saying. It's about the temple. And so we're going to go through some of that. And we're going to talk about the restoration of worship. The restoration of worship. So it's about being restored. And what's being restored? God's restoring his temple and his people. And remember in Ezekiel, he said that I'm going to give you a new heart and a new mind or spirit. So he said, I'm going to give you a new heart and a new spirit. I'm going to restore you, and I'm going to give you something new. So all of this is taking place. So, okay. So before we get there, well, let me see here. Yeah, we can do this. So we're going to talk about the restoration of worship, the presence in the history of Israel. So, and I'm emailing this to you. So look, the word temple in the Bible is used 204 times. 117 of those times are in the New Testament. The temple of the Lord are found 24 times. Once in the New Testament, the word temple of God appears 9 times. The word tabernacle is used 328 times, and 20 of them in the New Testament. So there is a theme that is coming off right now, and the theme is that God has always had a mind or had a mindset that he wanted a temple to dwell in. Amen. He wanted a temple to dwell in. And so for that fact, we have to realize that we became the temple in the New Testament age, right? Our body, where he's going to dwell in us, our body is a temple. We know that, right? So now, when we look at temple and we start doing a research, we can find out that God means business when it comes to a temple. Okay, so then the word holy place is found 60 times and 5 times in the New Testament. The word the most holy appears 24 times, and the words the most holy place another 10 times. Now remember the phrase the mountain of the Lord? That's found 4 times, but it also refers to the house of the Lord, which occurs 234 times. So, and then other uses include the Mount of the Lord and the Holy Mount, which we can regard as the temple being the house of the Lord. So what he's doing right now is he's building a house for who? Him to dwell in. So when you look at when we look at we'll get to that in a little bit. So he's talking about a house when he can live in and dwell in, and he can be our God and ruler, where his presence can manifest. All right. So then we get to the sanctuary. The word sanctuary appears 137 times. 21 uses are in the last 9 chapters of Ezekiel describing a future temple of Messiah himself. Let's stop right there. So there's controversy when it comes to Ezekiel 40. I'm gonna ask a question. What period do you think the temple is going to appear, and why?
Oh, we mean, well, like I believe it's going to be in the last.
It's not no wrong answer. We're doing a poll.
Ezekiel's temple, the vision.
Yes.
In the last days, when during the tribulation.
But when you read your text, you said that you said that they didn't build the temple because they didn't see the vision.
Yeah, they didn't have the faith.
Right. But that was what we were told also when we went on to that trip.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's one view.
Okay.
Okay. But that's not the only view. Then you have a symbolic view where people think that this is just symbolic and it doesn't mean a literal. There was one guy that says that this is not literal, this is just a symbolic. But when you read the text, he's lying. Because if it was just literal,
right,
why would he give so much detail? Measurements upon measurements.
Right.
He's tripping. They're tripping. But that's another view. Now, there are some people that think that the temple is going to come now. Like this is going to be the temple. You know, we're going to build this temple. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to confuse anybody. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of speculation when it comes to this chapter. There's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of questions where we're like, man, I don't know if it's coming now or when it's coming. If it's some people say it's going to come in the tribulational period.
Well, it's in scripture. What is it? Daniel 9:27.
Go ahead, get it, because I that's one of my scriptures I'm pulling out.
Talks about it in the Old Testament. Daniel.
Right, but that's what I was saying. So there's a lot of controversy when it comes to this text, and so when you're reading it, so you can't just sometimes you just can't take
it literally.
Take what everybody's saying literally, because a lot of
been reading this, like it's altered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked about that because why would the word say that anyone who takes away from this word or adds to it will be hurt? Now he would have said that if he didn't know that it was already going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. So
that's true.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I got excited.
You're like, I got me a nugget.
That's one of the things I was sitting thinking about. Like I told my mom, I was like, you know what? Why would he say that? If he had to know that somebody was going to be messing with the word.
And you have a lot of people, and so
it's true.
And when we're interpreting stuff like this, right? Some people they'll read the text with a preconceived notion of what they already know, and so then they'll interpret it based on what they know and fit into their timeline instead of looking at it as if they knew anything, just really trying to interpret and figure out what the text is actually saying to us. And that's why it's important to understand that there's stuff that's symbolic, but then there's stuff that's literal. So when we tally up the evidence of all this usage in the Bible is 1,000. Look at it. 1,000 uses of presenting about the temple, the sanctuary, the mountain of the Lord, the house of the Lord. And in the Bible in Isaiah 27:13 speaks of a future day when people will come to worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem. So it's going to come a day when people are going to worship the Lord in his house. So then now the Hebrew word for temple, hekal, meaning big house, is used 81 times. And then there's another word, Bet Adonai, Adonai, which means the house of the Lord, or Bet Elohim, the house of God, both meaning tabernacle and temple are referred to in Hebrew. I'm not going to even, Mishkat, yeah, which means dwelling. See, you got it. Yeah, you would have said it. But here's the thing. he's talking about a house that's going to be built.
Yeah.
Now, let me go to my next slide. And so then we have another one that means the house of holiness, which are translated sanctuary, and today described in a temple, in spite of many attempts by the Islamic people. The world to deny the presence of a Jewish temple on the holy mountain of Jerusalem, the evidence speaks powerfully that they are wrong. Now, what you have to understand in Jerusalem right now, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, but there's, when you see flats of Jerusalem, you see this big old gold.
That's a mosque.
That's a mosque. It's not Hebrew. It's a mosque, right? So they're trying to fight to get that property to build the temple on that mount. That's the mount that they want to build the temple on. And so in recent discovery from caves and from the Dead Sea Scrolls, we found and have produced 9 rare silver coins to date back that the Jewish revolt in the 2nd century AD. In other words, there were people that said that these temples did not exist. And so when they did their archaeological digs, they found coins to produce that they did exist. There's got coins from David that people think David didn't exist. They found coins from David's reign. Little tablets from 2 different servants that were with David. So they found all of these archaeological stuff to prove. Matter of fact, they had built a complex on top of it and didn't know that they were on top of a lot of archaeological artifacts.
Wow.
Yeah. And one guy was saying, my office was like literally right on top of these artifacts. They had no clue we're down there. And to survive all of those years and to have inscription orders from David with the seal of David.
Wow, I would love to see that.
Yeah. So on the other side of the coin, they showed the image of the 4 plants known as the 4 species used during the ceremony feast of Sukkot, or it's the feast of the tabernacles. So now we're going to get into how many temples are they? You can see it up here, but how many temples do you think they are?
Yeah.
Name them.
You didn't say
I'm not.
How many and what's the names?
Right. Well, we see the 3. We see Solomon built one, Herod built one, Moses had one, but it was the one that you moved by foot,
What's
right?
his called?
Moses,
The Ark of,
What was his called?
Moses,
No. Starts with a T. We already went.
Tabernacle.
Tabernacle.
So we have Moses that was the one that was mobile, that he would take around.
Right.
Pitched it. Okay, then we have Solomon's.
Right.
Then we have Herod's.
Right.
Then we have Ezekiel's that was never built.
Are you sure that that's in that sequence?
Huh? In that order? You mean in that order? Oh, it's Moses first, then it's Solomon, yeah, and then it's Herod. Because Herod was member on the Torah.
I'm listening. Herod, and then what else?
And that's it.
But you
And
got,
then Ezekiel's one, but it was never built.
but you got right. But Ezekiel's temple is not for this time.
I know. So there's another one that we don't know about?
Yeah, you guys are missing something.
Okay,
So-
wait.
But I thought
Give me some time.
that even though that Ezekiel's temple wasn't built, but there was a temple that was built though.
And what's that temple called?
I don't know. But there was a temple
There
that
it goes.
was built
I got it.
because it was different. It was more grander than
She's right.
that temple.
Then
It was Herod's built, but rebuilt. It had messed up, and then he restarted, or he rebuilt it.
so which temple is that called? Which temple is it?
This temple was originally built around 515 BC and later modified by Herod just prior to the birth of Jesus. The second temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, as prophesied by Jesus.
That's Herod. That's Herod's temple. So
Oh, then the dome that we're talking about, the Muslim dome was built.
no. So I'll just like I said. So because since Naisha was reading, she said there were 3 temples. These were the 3 temples you read and you were referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Solomon, Herod, And the Messiah's temple.
I know.
What's the Messiah's temple?
That's the temple we visited.
No, what's the
I'm
Messiah's temple?
saying when we went to
Oh,
Roseville, that was the Messiah's temple.
no, that was the Moses temple.
No, it was called the Messiah temple.
Right, but
Nehemiah?
that actually that temple is the Moses temple. The Messiah's temple is actually Ezekiel's temple.
The second one that we're talking about right now.
The one that we're talking about right now is the Messiah's temple, which is Ezekiel's temple.
Like she said, the Messianic.
Right, but she was referring that
That's
to
the one before?
right.
So the
to-
Messianic is.
You,
the,
but you
It's the Messiah.
so I had on the side mixed up.
no.
Sorry.
The Messiah's temple is the temple that we're reading about right now.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Moses.
Okay. Okay, I just have one question. So
Go
then
ahead.
what's the name of the fourth one? 'Cause I don't.
We're getting ready to go through it. We're getting ready to go through it. The first one of Moses. And we remember in Exodus 14, 15, they sung the song of Moses.
Mhm.
And then they have instructions, constructions are found in Exodus 25 and 40 and 25 and 8.
Okay.
And it says, and let them make me, who's me, God, a sanctuary that he may dwell among them. Go ahead.
We're the temple? The fourth? Okay, good. Oh, the temple, right? Tablet. Okay.
We're talking about exist before the New Testament.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right,
then
back to work.
the second is the Solomon's temple,
Okay.
which we all know
We
about,
established that.
right? Which is in Chronicles. This temple was destroyed in 586 BC by Babylon. Then we find in Chronicles 36, 18 through 19, and they burnt the house of God and break down the walls of Jerusalem and burn all the palace, therefore, with fire. Okay, so these are the first two temples,
Mhm.
right? But when we just saw it, most scholars don't even call Moses
Yeah.
as a temple, but it was a temple, but that temple wasn't a temple for the people, it was a temple for the Spirit of God to dwell in. You couldn't fit 1 billion people in the temple. So then, the next one is the restored temple, which was by Ezra, that most people don't conclude as a temple. So remember when the children of Israel were captive in Babylon, as we see in Ezekiel, and remember Nehemiah, who was rebuilding the wall?
You didn't hear me say that?
No, I did.
I
I have it right here.
I said Nehemiah.
I didn't hear you say Nehemiah. I really did.
See, teacher?
Oh, no, see,
Okay, go ahead. This is good though.
See, teacher.
she made me choke. I got the nuggets. So, but this is another temple.
Okay.
Now, the reason why they don't call this a temple, because when they built this temple, those that were there with Solomon's temple, this temple was whack compared to Solomon's temple.
Yeah.
It was whack, because it was
Herod's was pretty nice too.
right. But Herod, the reason why they recognize Herod's temple as just a third temple is because Herod built on top of this temple.
Okay.
He built onto this temple and remodeled and made it grand and all that other kind of good stuff, right? But that was actually another temple that they went and worshiped,
Okay.
right? The temple is a house where God can dwell in and worship, right? Okay. So then we go to the tribulation temple. What's that?
Ezekiel.
Okay, explain. Why is it the tribulation temple?
It's the tribulation temple is going to be where I feel this is my theory that the Antichrist or the abomination of desolation will sit.
So then how is that Ezekiel's temple?
Because for the first half of It's kind of hard to explain. It still is the temple. I mean, God's gonna come back and restore regardless. If the demon's gonna sit there and do whatever he does,
No, but
he's
what?
still gonna come to an end.
But that's not what
Okay,
you're
saying.
What you're saying is the tribulation temple, but it's not Ezekiel's temple.
Okay, because Ezekiel's temple is gonna be when the New Jerusalem comes.
Ezekiel is the temple where we'll find out later on the prince, which is God is going to sit there and rule in that temple. He's going to be the Lord in that temple. This temple is the tribulation temple, which we're talking about right now, which will exist during the coming of tribulations. Revelations 11 and 12 says the Bible seems to teach us the following above the temple. Now, this is a political agreement that will allow the Jewish worship to worship on the Temple Mount. Go ahead. I saw you going.
Which is what's happening now. You see that thing on the news with Trump and Netanyahu?
Yes,
I'm
getting to it. I'm getting to it.
It's coming. Praise the Lord. It's coming. It's coming back.
But the location was shared in Daniel 9:27.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it there. Revelation 11 and 2 says, but the court which is without the temple leaves out, not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under the foot 42 months. Now, this is what we're talking about, people that's going to be arrogant. It's going to be the arrogance of a coming world leader will cause him to enter in a temple and demand that he be worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be in Daniel. You find that in Daniel 11, 13, 37, Matthew 24 and 15. For 2 Thessalonians 2 and 4 says, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So, we're going to go a little further. This is where it gets in. I already know we're going to have conversations. We're going to be talking. What's going on? Did you know that they have reinstituted the Sanhedrin Council?
It's found.
What is the Sanhedrin Council? Anybody know what the Sanhedrin Council is? I'm talking to my Acts people. That was in Acts. Nobody remember what the Sanhedrin Council?
Yes, when they was trying to figure out how the person to charge. When I was having the court setting and they were discussing, who was that they were trying to send away for a long time? But I know what you're talking about, though, because I remember us talking about for a very long time. Yeah, they couldn't figure out what the charge was. They kept them from place.
I'm not Jesus.
You get so the Sanhedrin, but he did go to the Sanhedrin Council.
Yeah,
but the Sanhedrin Council is now is an ancient council where I'll use the apostles when Peter and John got arrested for healing the lame man in Acts chapter 4 and chapter 3, and in chapter 4 he got arrested and they told him don't preach. They asked him, what did you heal? How did you heal him? What name did you use? And then they said, don't use the name of Jesus, and they flogged him. They whipped him, and then they came back and they were praising the Lord because they suffered for the name of Jesus. Right? That was the council. They met the council again. I believe it was in chapter 5. They met the council again, and there was another person named Gamaliel who had to come and intercede and say, if you're going to fight, you may be fighting against God. I'm just paraphrasing really quick. But the Sanhedrin Council was very active, especially in the political days, in the days of Jesus. And so they have reinstituted the governing authorities. But they have reinstituted the Sanhedrin, and they have appointed a high priest in preparation for the
temple.
They remember most scholars
don't recognize
the other one. So the third temple that they're talking about is the tribulation temple that we're talking about. So, and you can see that they're doing the sacrifice. Now, I want to read this rabbi. He says, we do not need a miraculous occurrence like the sudden appearance of a temple descending from heaven onto the Temple Mount to make this decision relevant. Explains the rabbi. The only obstacle preventing the temple service today is political issues. Going on, it says, if that should suddenly change, as it very well could, we would be required to begin the temple service immediately It is therefore necessary that we have a candidate prepared to fill the role of the highest priest, especially now that we have prepared to serve in the temple.
It's gonna be smart.
Yep.
They're gonna try to.
This is good. This is good.
Even though
This
they
is a
built
scare
the
me.
temple,
People
they're
get
gonna
scared.
they're gonna try to put people up there, but
This is good because that just means we're getting closer.
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
I,
We gotta get ready. We gotta stay ready, should I say?
We gotta be ready. I just thought that this was gonna be very interesting when I brought this up.
It is.
This is I put
This
the
I
link.
don't see
So
on
this is happening now.
This, yeah, I got the link right here. I
But
put
this
the link
ain't on
right here.
our news. Not on internet because they ain't gonna put that out.
You don't know how many videos and stuff I was looking at, and I was like, and a lot. I was telling Janine, I was like, there's a lot of stuff that was being confirmed by multiple sources. So the next slide is the Temple Institute. This Temple Institute and many others are building artifacts that are already built for the Tribulation Temple. This says, Shalom and welcome to the official website of the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, Israel. The Temple Institute is dedicated to every aspect of the Holy Temple and central role to fulfill, and would once again fulfill in the spiritual well-being of both Israel and the nation of the world. The Institute works, touches upon history of the Holy Temple's past and understanding of the present day and divine promise of Israel's future. The Institute actively includes education, research, and development. The Temple Institute's ultimate goal is to see Israel rebuild the Holy Temple on the Mount of Jerusalem according with biblical commandments. We invite you to, and they have a statement of principles to learn more about them. But their goal is for them to build the temple. Israel rebuilt the Holy Temple on the Mount of Moriah in Jerusalem.
Same Mount where Abraham.
But same mount right now where the mosque is.
The descendants of Ishmael.
Right. Who?
This is like a movie. This is like a movie though.
but they have to.
But it's real though.
So you have two instances. You have this guy who is a high-ranking member of the Sanhedrin, and this guy who is the priest, and they're doing a sacrifice, anoint him as the high priest. Then you have this institute right here, which you can see some of the animals and stuff like that. And if you type in the Temple Institute, they have little, they have stuff there. They have like the lamp, the 7 lamps, the golden lamps. It's already built solid gold. I mean, they have these things ready. We've been talking about these things already. Here it is. Here's proof that they're doing this right now. While we play in church, they're doing this right now. And it's fulfilling, and all this is fulfilling prophecy that has to come to pass. So when we start looking at this, we can't say that the Herod's temple, we can't say that Ezekiel's temple, faith to build it. They have to fulfill the prophecy first, because remember, Gog and Magog have to come to that class, right? And then God is going to come and rule again, right? So, I mean, all of this stuff has to come into fruition. This stuff has to play out. It has to play out. So we go to our next slide. Then we talk about the Messianic temple, or the Messiah's temple, which some people refer to as the third temple, or the sixth structure referred as the temple. So now Ezekiel 41 begins, afterward he brought me to the temple. And Ezekiel 43:4 says, and the glory of the Lord came into the house. We're going to get there, but I wanted to bring that out. That it's God's temple, and he is going to fill the house. Now, if we go back to chapter 8, I think it's chapter 8 or chapter 10, in one of those places, he left the temple. His glory walked out of the door. But now he said, I'm going to come back into the temple. He left the Holy Temple. That was when you had Ezekiel recognize one of the people that was leading the worship, doing all that God and goddesses worshiping animals in the holies of holies. And so he's like, man, you know what? I'm leaving. And so he left. He says, I'm going to come. Micah 4:2 predicts, but in the last days it shall come to pass, the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established on the top of the mountain, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow into it. This temple is going to be massive. It's going to be the eye. This is going to be something to see. So this is what we got to get in our head, and we got to understand, right?
So a temple like that, it's going to be that big. It's going to take a long time to build.
Right, but and those are things. How is it going to be built? How is it going to be prepared? Those are some questions that we have. Those are things that, there's some things that we don't know. Trust me, I don't have all the answers on this, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. Because this is a very difficult section of the chapter. And I see why a lot of people stay away from it and don't even attempt to talk about it. But you need to talk about the whole Bible, because this is very important. We're going to get to something that's interesting later in the second. The Messiah's temple from Zechariah prophesies, behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow out of his place, and he shall build a temple of the Lord. Temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest unto his throne. So it can't be symbolic. Because he's going to sit and he's going to rule.
Yeah.
It can't be they forgot to build the temple, because he says that he's the one that's going to be enthroned and he's going to rule. Right? So then we know that the church is the temple right now, or we're the temple, right? Like what you're saying, in our hearts, right? The New Testament also refers to the physical body. And so this is where some people think that this temple is symbolic, and they just say that it's us. But there's so much evidence pointing that it is a physical temple that we can't deny it. You can't deny that it's there and it's going to happen. So we're going to highlight. I'm going to show you something that's going to be very interesting. Turn on the lights up, please.
Starting that.
Where everybody else has this is my property. This is my 3D image. It's amazing how they're jumping out there. And you know, it's a top here in this product. That's so you can turn the light back on. So what you guys think about the 3D view of the temple?
And I still don't think it's gonna do any justice to what the real is gonna do.
I don't think so either. But it kind of gives you. Next week, I'm going to show you part 2 about the sanctuary. So what do we see in here? We're seeing the actual temple that is going to be built. We see that this temple is going to be massive. We see there's going to be water going to be flowing through there. We see not only water going to be flowing through, but we also see God is so detailed in its dimension. Maybe you saw the little sticks and they were measuring everything. He's so detail oriented in this. Like, he's been very detailed. Anytime he talks about how a temple should be built, Solomon's temple is very detailed. I mean, he's very detailed to this. So for us to just think that, you know, again, just to drive the point home, it can't be just symbolic, you know. It has to have an actual, it's got to be literal, because it's like, man, you really want this temple to be built. And look how everything is working and is flowing together in harmony. And you notice that you only have an east, north, and south wing, right? You don't have an entrance from the west, right? Everything, you know, God has everything set up for a reason. And what you found out in the video also is that you have the outer court, then you have the inner court, and then there was an entrance to enter in to the inner court, right? So it wasn't just, you just walk in. The inner court wasn't accessible like that. No. It was an entrance that you had to go into. Then you had the sanctuary, which we're going to get to next week. But that's what this text is really focused on chapter 40. It's talking about the blueprint of the outskirt, right? So, it's talking about the outer court, and then they'll talk about the inner court, and that's what it's doing. So what we saw here was just a picture of how everything is, that temple is going to be constructed. Mm-hmm. And so what we're seeing here is that we live in we, like I said again, that there's a lot of conspiracies, a lot of theories out there. Mm-hmm. And I don't have all the answers, nor do I claim to, and maybe nor do I want to have all the answers, Mm-hmm. But the fact still remains that God has always been serious. I'm going to go to the next slide, but God has always been serious about his temple. I want to make sure that we drive that home, and about his presence being manifested in the temple. Mm-hmm. Remember when you had Moses build his temple? Man, God came in there. Remember when Solomon, right? And the glory of the Lord came in the other temple. Remember the glory of the Lord came in and they fell out, and they were praising and all that kind of stuff, right? All of these things, right? We have to keep in our mind that God wants to dwell in the temple. Mm-hmm. And since we have the Holy Ghost today, he wants to dwell in us, right? Mm-hmm. We are the ones that are holding the presence of God on the inside, right? He wants to dwell in us, but he also going to have a big dwelling place. And the Bible even tells us about the new Jerusalem, right? That's going to come down from heaven. But you see that the Jewish people, some of the Jewish people that we saw, they say that we don't need a manifestation of the kingdom to come down. Mm-hmm. But then they talk about they're going to build a temple in accordance with the Bible's command. Really? But, and again, some of them don't believe in the New Testament or the Messiah, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got that you got the argument, mm-hmm. right?
I think that what they're saying is correct. They are building the temple according to somebody has to bring the vision to pass, to fruition. So they are right in that aspect, right, because it's going to happen. Right. Somebody has to do it, because the word of the Lord will not return until void.
That's right. So, and it doesn't matter who he uses.
Yeah.
You're going to get it done.
Whoever talking about that they going to do it, okay. Then let's see what happens. Let's see if you are the chosen one to do it. Let's see. I mean, they've tried to do it before, been trying to do it, and it's been stopped. I mean, they're getting a lot farther now than where they had been 20 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever. I mean, but until we actually see the manifestation of it, it's still people trying to get this done and saying, we going to be the ones to do it. And it's like, okay.
And that Sanhedrin Council and that as you showed us, and him saying all that stuff and saying we don't need that, the miraculous divine of the God's gonna let them do that just so he can, and like he says, and I will show you that I am the Lord, your God. So all this is like she said, he's like, go ahead, puff yourself up with pride. I want you to do that. I'm in control. I'm controlling everything.
He said like this, I want you to do that. I want you to feel that.
Right. Wow, for real. And you will know that I am the Lord.
The Lord. You want my top things?
These people make me crazy when we clapping. But
that's basically what's going on.
For real. That's why he's saying, he's like, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll be the one to decide what you need.
I just want somebody to be like, okay, go ahead. Because even if you have to go ahead, if you're not the chosen person to make that happen, even if you have the free will, even if the government says go ahead, unless it's time for that to happen, it's not going to happen. Your materials are going to be shoddy. Everything is going to be off. It's not going to be until it's the specifications of what it needs to be and how it needs to happen. Yep. So that's why I'm like, okay, y'all come on.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like when they see that?
When they see it.
Man, I'm just going to be out. You ain't going to stop me from talking in tongues. But I'm just,
like when the knees got water on them, and like every knee will bow and everything, like tell you, we're not gonna be able to fathom it. I don't think we'll be able to like, it's gonna be a great and terrible day.
But here's the thing, is that that's already happened. And so, and was thinking about this because when I was looking at this thing, post on Facebook that's talking about Chance the Rapper. And I don't know who Chance the Rapper is, but apparently all of the Christian world was all in the uproar, not in a bad way, but the fact that this dude was on this award show, he did this song, and because he was
I got the victory in the name
God.
of the Lord.
Yeah.
Why did he say the name
still,
of Jesus?
No, but in his song though, because I looked at it, so in his song he was talking about Jesus. He did say his name in the song and was talking all this stuff. And so I'm like, okay, they had Kirk Franklin in there, Talman, all these people. But as I was watching it, then I was like, what's so big about this guy and the stuff that he's doing and all of that? And then when you start looking at all of his other stuff, it's, this or that. Yeah. But then as I was looking at it, it was just saying every knee is going to bow, every tongue is going to confess.
Yeah, no matter what
no matter who they are. But it's starting now because we're starting to see these people in the entertainment world right now because all eyes are on them. And so now they're going to, I'm going to, and even if I don't mean it, I'm going to say, there's a God, Oprah, there's a God.
Right.
I believe in God. But you're still confessing that there's a God, no matter what.
What God do they say?
I heard that Chance. My grandson was playing it one morning. The Spirit of God told me, get in there right now and tell him. Shut it off.
Because it's like a mix of, it's like, okay, I love the Lord, but then it was like saying some sexual stuff, and it was like.
And you know what my grandson told me? He's a Christian. He praises God all the time.
And boy, I'll say this: none of us are perfect Christians. None of us are perfect.
But I'm
not perfect.
But even still, that's still the trick, though, because that's the device used to let people know, it's okay. Though.
You can do this
because as long as you say that you believe in God, you give everything to God. But then it goes back to the scripture: every knee is gonna confess, every tongue, every knee is gonna bow, every tongue is gonna confess. And it's just the prophecy that's coming to pass. Every knee, every time. At some point in time, even if you mean it or don't mean it, at some point in time, you're going to recognize for that split second that there is a God and that you have to bow.
That's true.
And it happens. And sometimes we look at it at that end time, that last and great day where folks is on their knees, Lord, Lord, confessing it. No, they're confessing it now. But they're not confessing that he's their Lord. That's not what the Bible says. It says that every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that he is Lord. Not their Lord, but that he is Lord. And that's what they're doing.
And just to say what everybody's saying, I agree with everybody's saying. I like what she's saying. That's a very good revelation that they're already. Amen. Because it's a good one. Well, it's a good one because everybody, I'm like, man, that is true because everybody they are confessing. Matter of fact, I was reading a Facebook post, E40, and he's like, I want to thank the Lord God, and today, right? I was just like, oh, okay. You got to put God first. You got the cross, so like you said, it's the profane and unprofane that the negative and positive, they're trying to merge together. It's like mixing oil and water and trying to keep stirring in, and trying to put together. And just piggyback on what you were saying about this gentleman who is talking about God but it's the spirit that you have to talk about. And again, this is one of the same people was on Saturday Night Live with Kirk Franklin and Kanye West, and they were cousin. And that's when Kanye came out and did his little demonic ritual.
Yeah,
and
that was weird.
And you keep doing it, and neither
mockery, mocking God.
But neither has Kirk. And I'm not gonna be on here that long, but it's just showing us the sign.
I don't even know if that's Kirk.
The sign.
That's like totally different. It doesn't even look the same.
But this is different. So, but what happens is that, like we always say, you mess with fire, you get burned. If you ain't supposed to be doing certain things, You're supposed to be doing certain things, you know. It ain't free to go, I'm a demon slayer. I'm gonna go find every demon. I'm gonna slap every demon. What happened to these folk? You know, some of these folk, sons and schemers. There are some, unless God is telling you to do it, not saying that you can't do it, but he's like,
you're right, though. You gotta be right.
you gotta be led of, you gotta be led of the Lord. You gotta be led of the Lord to do whatever that you're doing.
Right.
The power doesn't come because the power doesn't just come because you say his name. The power is really gonna come because you're being led, and he's saying, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna manifest, I'm gonna work through you.
Right.
And so it's just the sign of the times. And that's what we can see here in our Bible study about the sign of the time.
What was that rapper, that story we saw?
Oh, from the clips? Gene, what happened to that boy?
I can't
The
remember.
clips? Well, one of them, Saint, I didn't even know that, got a little special on Netflix, but anyways, it was touching. I mean, it's like you said, it's a lot of people. Some people are, right now they're confessing. You see it all over, but this guy is really like, I gave my life to the Lord.
And there's a difference. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
To saying that he is the Lord over my life.
Yeah, he said that. He started crying with praying like, thank you, Jesus.
That's
different,
different,
huh?
And you have to be able to know the difference. No, you're confessing.
And he gave everything up, all his money, all that.
Yeah.
But that's what we're saying, right? We're saying that, you know, God is bringing everything to a close. And like, so I'm not going to get into the outer court, inner court. That's just reading that y'all can read at home, because we've already actually covered it. I just wanted to open this up just for everybody just to talk and kind of get what they got out of what we're talking about. Because this is just really the introduction, right? It's just the temple. It's talking about the presence of God. You know, I don't feel that I have to keep, you know, reiterating the point here, because this hit it. There was articles, the video visual, you know, the knowing about the presence of God, and just realizing that God is going to be ruler over our life. I'm gonna shut it off right now, and we can still talk, but you got to be in the house of the Lord to hear the rest of this. And we offline. So, but what, you know, like I can just show you. I'll show you like what I was talking about, just about some of the different speculations. It's just different stuff.